Hello everyone. Today I shall be talking about cognitive biases in data science. I'll start with talking about what's a cognitive bias. Then I'll go through some of the common cognitive biases. I've chosen these three because I feel that they are fairly ubiquitous across data scientists. And then I'll conclude my talk by sharing some of the mitigating strategies. A cognitive bias is an attempt that's made by our brains to simplify information processing. Now, this could be governed by our personal preferences and experiences. However, the end result is that we deviate from making sound judgment and rational decisions. Let's take a look at some of the common cognitive biases in data science. Confirmation bias. It refers to the tendency of looking at only those data or information that affirm our pre-existing notions. Now, our notions could be based on our intuition from education or our experiences. However, when there's confirmation bias in action, we consciously ignore data or information that do not agree with our beliefs. Now, when a model is trained repeatedly on a data that exhibits confirmation bias, the bias is amplified by the model and is transferred to its predictions. This ends up strengthening the end user's confirmation bias. We had several institutions who fall prey to this confirmation bias and have used models resulting in negative moral or ethical repercussions. Survivorship bias. It refers to the tendency of looking at incomplete data. In a sense, you only look at successes but ignore the failures. Let me give you an example. Suppose you are building a model to predict churn for a customer subscription service. Now, if your model looks at data coming from only active users, there is survivorship bias in action. The right way to go about this would be to also look at data coming from users that are no longer using the service. Availability bias. It refers to the tendency of using information that the modelers are most aware of. But by doing so, we end up restricting ourselves to a very narrow, specific subset of information. As data scientists, it is very tempting to use models or functions that come in data science packages as plug and play tools, but don't really serve the purpose that they're intended to, rather than building our own models or functions from scratch and actually fine tuning them to do the job that we want them to do. So, how do you correct these biases? The strategy of mitigation starts with being aware and acknowledging that you have this cognitive bias. Actively seeking data that contradicts your hypothesis is a useful tactic, especially when you're dealing with confirmation bias. Another helpful strategy is to look at diversified sources of input. This is because missing data can help uncover useful insights, and having diversified sources of input helps to capture this missing data that's not present in a single source. Overall, a healthy level of skepticism and willingness to learn can help address some of the biases that we've discussed. The goal of my presentation was to make you aware of some of these biases and how we end up transferring them to our models. While I've discussed only three, there are several more biases that you'll come across as you progress as data scientists. However, I hope this talk was helpful in nudging you to be a little bit more skeptic at every stage, right from data collection to building models and making objective data driven decisions. Thank you.